at 7 o'clock?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. 7 o'clock is time to rock. And nobody even said it. Oh, God. Help us!
I'm rewinding. I'm going to rewind because this was a well timed out show. I had everything timed, and you should have. The joke that I just told was the funniest joke of all time, and now I forgot it.
Ah!
It wasn't really that. There was no audio.
Was it red over there?
I don't know. Were
When
you
you said
looking
we're
over
ready
there?
to go, I thought, okay, I don't need to look over there. We have to figure out a better system.
Well, next year's coming. I'm having the craft redesigned for next year.
Okay, Bob. Bug Friedman. No sound! Okay, I do.
It's too many switches. This is why I beat things with a stick. I like the knobs and I like all that stuff, but just give me something to hit.
No screaming at us!
Is somebody screaming? Are we being screamed? Are
Yes,
we
by
being admonished?
Buck Bob Friedman.
Buck Bob.
Hey, Buck,
Friedman.
dude. I know I've seen you on the show before.
Well,
But
he's
this is
trying to get. You know what? If we can't hear him in lowercase type, I appreciate the fact that he's going to try to get our attention.
Oh.
Not trying to mess us up. He wanted to hear all of that exciting information. And what I was saying, you know what? I remember what I was saying,
I remember
which is
what you
rare.
said, too.
I was just
No
saying
yelling at us!
that I was I was remarking how many cool musicians, people in the business that I've met this year that I wouldn't have met under other circumstances. The idea of this show for me, besides the fact that it was meant to be entertaining and funny in a very dark time, was that it was an excuse for me to connect with guys that I haven't spoken to in years. I mean, what am I going to do? Call up after 35 years, call up my friend who plays with Billy Joel and say, hey, just, it's just not the way it goes. It's usually happenstance that puts people together, unless it's like two best friends that got separate gigs, and I don't know. It's, and originally it was a way of that. It was a way of me reconnecting with the guys that I've known over the years, even if it was just remotely. And it's been so much fun. It's really been cool. So we're going to keep that up. But I want to thank all those people. And, they're all invited. So wouldn't it be a gas if everybody showed up from 2021? Is it 2021?
Yeah. Sure is.
I'm just checking.
2021.
That would be a hell of a party tomorrow night. But, and, I'm sure, I know that we're celebrating with the Azores and two other locations in that particular time zone. Because our 8 o'clock will be there midnight, so we'll count down with them. And I had to buy some very expensive satellite uplink time to be able to synchronize with them, because obviously they don't have Earth Cam.
Oh, and tonight,
What?
our guest,
Oh, Felix, yes.
yes, is Felix Robinson.
Felix Robinson.
He was the bass player in Angel in 1977-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be a good hang.
No, it'll be a real good hang. I mean, I was watching their video before, and it struck me how many of the guys in that band we've had on the show.
Well, think about Double Vision or Billy Joel's band. We've had almost every one of them.
Well, but that speaks to our, the family of, our musical family, remote and close.
To check in on Wade Preston. He must be really working his butt off.
Or he's in jail.
And
I hope he's working his
and
butt off.
Doobie, we're thinking about you, dude.
Dude, bro, if you're out there, we know you're busy. We know what's going on. Stay busy, bro.
Yeah.
But when you can, you get a break in the action. We're waiting for you.
That's right.
What else? What else?
Well, that's about it. I think
That's about it, huh?
Felix Robinson will be coming in a few minutes.
He will be coming
You have
in
some
a few
pictures of him that
Yeah, yeah.
Angus sent?
Mm-hmm. Angus sent a beautiful picture. And, man, his resume is like, whew. It's interesting because guys, the one thing that you'll find about a lot of the guys that we have on the show, especially as, the circle gets a little wider as to who we're inviting on, guys who stay in it for 40 years, 30 years, 40 years, there's no retirement package at the end of that. You have to keep reinventing yourself to be able to make a living doing what you love, and it's not easy. And a lot of the guys that come on the show, most of the guys that come on the show,
Thank you, Pat Romano.
are guys who have they know how to walk the Appalachian Trail. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of musicians, they're in bands, they're young, they're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, and then in their 40s, it's like all of a sudden the band members get married,
or who knows what happens. But but it's interesting, And Felix is at the door, so I'm gonna show you some pictures of our guest, and I'm gonna invite him into the room.
Okay.
This is.
That's him in the 70s.
Yeah. Come on in.
Thank you, Laurie Richardson.
My picture.
Uh,
Fantastic. Technology. Is your audio muted?
That's
Good
just
call,
so
Felix.
weird, man. I've got a console in front of me that says Steve Mic on, and the software says Steve Mic off.
You got too much technology, man.
Who do I call?
For
Who
a
do I?
drummer, right?
This is all the technology I need, man.
Thanks, Kitty.
This is
That's
it.
all right. I got guys that can fix that stuff for you.
Yeah, so do I. I just don't. They don't talk to me anymore.
You got to pay them.
It's all good.
Okay,
Really?
Well,
No, I'm actually. I tell you what. For the amount of stuff that's going on in here, and the fact that I do beat things with a stick for a living, it works out pretty good.
we just call Randy Jackson.
Yeah, we just
for
call
free.
Randy Jackson, and Randy, I can't see myself, and then he just
Yeah.
waves his hands, and it's great.
Yeah.
So I looked at your bio, man. You've done a lot of cool stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and yeah,
He
thank
just
you.
said that
Thank you.
about
I just
you.
said that about you.
Well, thanks for joining the show, Steve.
Yeah, well, listen. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming down and bringing me down with you.
Yeah.
Where are you in the You're in the boardroom there.
This is a photograph. I use it as a backdrop for my business calls. I got to tell you, I don't use Zoom that often. Zoom and it's okay. I mean, it's very cool. It works fine. But I use WebEx for business calls, and that's kind of what I'm used to. So I don't have that many backdrops. I don't have all this fancy, cool moving around stuff, which I like very much. And Angus was telling me all about how he does that stuff. So I got to learn because it's fun. But
Well, it's
yeah.
fun and it keeps things interesting. See, now, unlike you, I am really in space in this capsule. I don't like to
Well, I
use a
think-
backdrop. You know,
I think he's in Succession.
yeah, no, yeah.
You need a helmet.
Yes, I often need a helmet. It's true. It's true.
So what this is it's a downstairs in the basement of City Hall, New York, which is where I am. I'm in New York City. I built this room for Mayor Bloomberg.
Oh, that's right. You do. That's right. Okay? I gotcha.
This still is the command center. I don't think our outgoing mayor. Goodbye. Sorry for the politics. Didn't mean to do that. I don't think he uses this room because I don't know that he knows how to use technology any better than we do. So, anyway, it's what you call a command center.
Well, I certainly know what a command center is, and I could use one.
Yeah, we watch all those
myself. But so, and I read that you sort of retired your music career, which is that allowed? I don't think.
No,
that's allowed.
I didn't retire your music career at all.
Oh, okay.
No.
Something's misreading, or I.
No.
That's all right.
You did something at Madison Square Garden.
I began a new career, an additional career.
Much better choice.
There you go. Adding to my, my repertoire. Yeah, over 30 years ago, like a lot of musicians, I was at that point after I'd made albums and toured the world and had a great time. Got married, started a family. Time to get a little more Social Security happening, Went to work for a company here in New York, and one company led to another company. A better job came along, and I started my own company. Nonetheless, I mean, time marches on, and I ended up working for some of the largest technology integration companies in the world. Had a terrific career, 30 years almost. So I think what you're referring to is that I kind of retired from that about 5-6 years ago.
Maybe I misread it, but I know that you stayed in a business that was parallel to whatever happened. It was you were keeping yourself in the
Always.
same water.
Yeah.
And that's what I think defines a lifer, you know, a lifelong entertainer, is that you stay within access of your sweet
Right.
spot whenever you can.
Sure.
You know, it's like you don't want to just, if you're a bodybuilder, you don't want to stop and wait till somebody says, "Hey, it's been a couple of years, but you want to enter the top?" Nah, thanks.
Yeah.
Nah, Krispy Kreme, man. No, thank you.
Yeah. Well,
But
I didn't stop working on anything. I continued to work even after I was retired. I did some consulting work, and I kept playing and I kept recording. I produced a band out in LA. And then about a little over a year ago, I started doing work with Clare Brothers, which is a big,
oh, the best.
Yeah.
the best, right? And I
I
work for them
had
now.
I had
Wow.
a pair of I had a pair of their monitors. You know the monitor, of course you do. That the ones that fold into the case,
Yeah,
and they have wheels on them. You just open up and it's two floor wedges.
yeah,
They built a set for John Entwistle,
I'm sure.
and
They do everybody.
right. But I mean,
you ended
somehow,
up with them.
yeah, I went. Yeah, I go to the locker and it's like, oh, okay, well,
Clare Brothers.
Clare Brothers.
Yeah.
Are we
Right
supposed to
now, right now we have Guns N' Roses on tour, the Rolling Stones,
No.
Hella Mega Tour, which is Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer,
Oh wow.
Harry Styles, the Eagles, the Jonas Brothers,
Oh, wow.
Chris Stapleton. Have you heard Chris Stapleton?
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I have.
And Luke Bry.
And Luke Bry.
Not Luke Bryan?
No.
Luke Bry. I don't know much about Luke Bry, but I'm familiar with all of the others. And
Well,
So-
that's amazing.
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a fun company to work for. It's people like you and I. It's rock and roll people.
I know it is.
When I started working with them, and I'm on the phone talking to the guy that is actually my boss, and he got me involved. He hired me, and I knew him from business, like doing big sound systems, because he did Giant Stadium and Yankee Stadium, and I had stadiums after stadium, and I knew him from that. But we're on one of our first calls after I joined the company. He goes, "Hey, Felix, do you remember Cleveland?" I'm like, "Sure, I remember Cleveland. I've been to Cleveland." He goes, "No, do you remember Cleveland when you were on tour and there was a fight in the audience and there was a brawl on stage?" And I'm going, "That happened quite frequently, but yeah, I do remember Cleveland." He goes, "Well, I was the guy running the sound system back then."
Well, let me take a second out to let everybody know what we're talking about in the simplest terms is if you've been to a concert at just about anywhere, you've heard Clare Brothers sound. I mean, it's production. It's everything that isn't on the stage or that we didn't bring with us.
Right.
It's about everything else, and
Company does a great job. And we do integration work too. We install permanent systems, not just the tours,
All right, so wait a minute. I got to geek out for a second, right?
right?
Because I remember when the line array happened, and I remember, I won't touch the microphone switch, I promise. But what's the coolest new thing that's just now every day it's part of front of house or whatever?
Well, there's of course steerable sound systems, meaning you can electronically steer the sound into any place you want it to go without moving the speaker. That's been
Wow.
around for a while. That's been around for about 10 years
What is that
successfully.
called?
Steerable line arrays.
Steerable line array?
But the technology continues to march along, although horsepower still matters in concert-sized touring systems. It comes down to the size of the equipment that can make the most sound, and that's where the technology has advanced the most in the diminishment of the dimensions of the speakers themselves, so that what used to be when I was touring back in the day, and maybe what you used, and definitely what John Entwistle used, with these big racks and stacks of gigantic speakers, and it was just a monstrosity. Well, most of that has come down to the size where the sound system can still be extremely loud, but you know, it comes in smaller sizes, and so you can fill up an arena, a stadium. Of course, they still have to carry a lot of semi trucks and a lot of people.
Oh yeah, because it's all. I mean, except for the subs, it's all flown, and somebody's got to get it up there. That's riggers, and we know what all
Right.
that is. But I guess one of the advantages, one of the biggest advantages, that people who have been going, any of our viewers that have been going to concerts for a long time, it's less line of sight obstruction for people around the back, for people on the sides. The
Right.
bigger the PA system is, the harder it is to see from certain seats. So the fact that they fly it means hanging from the ceiling, and the fact that
Yeah.
it's direct. Man, what? Why would you do that? Why would you direct? Why? I mean, what's the end game? To
In
be able
what?
to direct the to be able to direct.
You
the
mean
line
steering the sound?
Yeah.
Well, because you've got seats in all these different places in a bowl-shaped auditorium or an arena. It's circular, right? So you've got people over here and people over there, and in a circle. So how do you get sound to each of those people, each of those areas, sections as we call them, so it's clear and intelligible? Well, you either have to have a separate speaker system for each section, which would mean you'd need, depending on the size of the room, 20 different speaker systems, or you need speaker systems that can be allocated for those sections but don't have to move or don't have to have multiple, replications of the same speakers.
And do they have
So
broadcast patterns? Are there like patterns like you aim it over in the corner and you put the cardioid pattern on it? Is that, I mean,
yeah, well, that cardioid is more applicable to a microphone, but yeah. So you can steer this beam of sound coming from the speaker system in a direction that most hits the most number of people accurately, and it just sounds better to them. And I'll just digress a minute when you mentioned Claire, and you were talking about the speakers that you were using that unfolded. So Roy Claire was one of the first people. The Claire company was one of the first companies that created speaker systems with the concept of packing it up and putting it in a truck.
yeah,
Before then it was just huge boxes and, you know, roll it out and stick it in a truck, and maybe however many boxes you could get in a truck was one thing. But then Claire sort of developed, and along with other companies, they weren't the only, but they were one of the originators of the idea that you make speakers that are shaped to condense into the back of a truck. It's called a truck pack. So the speakers, actually, you can get a whole lot of speakers in a semi truck.
well, I mean,
So
if you do, if you're a geometry guy and you do two triangles, they fit together to make a rectangle. That's the monitors that I had. It was
right.
just frick, and the outside of it, where the sessions handles and lockers were, and when it went together, it had four wheels on it. It was brilliant.
Now, one of our viewers is trying to understand. He says Dolby Surround.
Dolby Surround. What about Dolby
I
Surround?
don't know. That's what he
Well,
says.
Dolby Labs was the company that developed, a signal processing product, and this is this is 30 years ago or more. It was meant for a cinema application. You'll see Dolby at the end of some movies, processed using Dolby, and it required a license. And like when I was recording with, and so anyway, that's what Dolby is.
Okay.
Dolby
Noise
surround
reduction,
sound systems is just
isn't it based
dividing.
on?
Sorry.
I said, isn't it Dolby? Their baseline is noise reduction.
Well, Dolby is a processing product that enhances sound frequencies at certain levels and gives, I guess, what we'll call a more pleasing sound minus some of the noise. The most simplest version, the first version, was a noise reduction product. So more volume, less noise. Because back then it was all analog sound,
Right.
you know. So now it's digital. Dolby is not the cutting edge. It's a brand name, and it's used more for consumer products nowadays. Hence, maybe why the viewer thinks Dolby Surround is a product that might be used for concerts. But other than the Grateful Dead, which had the gigantic wall of sound system with all of the capabilities for surround sound, but not really as we're thinking of it. You know, and there are definitely, some groups that do the outdoor festivals, and we do those, requiring multiple, you know, groups of speakers covering, thousands and thousands of square feet,
Yeah, delay
millions of square
towers.
feet. Delay towers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really like working with the company because it's my rock and roll roots grown up. And then meeting with my other technology business experience, I'm really, I'm having a great time. We're doing very cool work.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
working
great.
around people that all came from rock and roll.
Yeah.
And many of us are still playing. I mean, there's still active musicians like myself that work for Claire, many. So when we get together, it's not like, where else I have worked, more, just recently where it was kind of everybody was wearing a tie and trying to be cool and short hair and the whole, button down thing. In Claireland,
Yeah, I know.
it's rock and roll, which I like.
Believe me,
Like that.
it's like rocket cargo. Believe me, I know, and it's funny because when you spend your life there, and I guess if you skirt out into that part of the business, you're still insulated by us. And and when I say us, I mean our family of guys, whether it's riggers or roadies or stage managers or production managers, or, LDs, whatever.
Yeah.
You're still connected to your family, which separates you from everybody else in the world.
It is a family, right? I mean, you travel, you live with, you eat with, you sleep with. I mean, when I first joined Angel, I slept in the same room with Punky Meadows for the first 6 months. I mean, we shared a room. I could give you 1,000 other examples, or a couple
There's
hundred.
a lot of our viewers that know
Yeah.
you from Angel.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that are watching that know
Yeah.
you from that.
It was a popular band at the time. A couple of the guys are still out there, banging away at it. And but we had our best times in the late '70s, very early '80s. The pictures are out there. It was a great band to be in. And I went on with my career. I mean, of course, Angel was not the first band I ever played with, nor the last. So after Angel, I started a band called White Lion here in New York. And we did one great album on Elektra. And the band went on and released subsequent albums that had some of my songs on them, and they did quite well.
Is that the White Lion that I remember from Long Island? Or
Yeah, from L'Amour's.
from Lamore's, yeah.
Right.
Lamore's, yeah. There were,
You got
yeah.
in Good Times or the Aquarian or.
I'm still in touch with the drummer, good buddies. I left the band after the first album was finished and in the can, and the record label decided to delay the release of the record. They released Dockin' instead. And I didn't want to wait a year. I didn't want to go play in biker bars. I didn't want to sleep in a van. I was 33 years old then, and I said, nah. And Susan and I were starting a family. So, I said, you guys go have a good time. And I took my share of the advance, and they went on and did well, and I'm happy for them. And we make our choices, and I'm happy with mine.
Yeah, but there's no, I mean, I don't ever feel like, for me in my career, I came up late 60s and 70s, and I was in the same band for 25 years, band called
Rat Race Choir.
Yeah, Rat Race Choir.
Famous band.
Thank you. Yeah, and a great band to be in for all the right reasons, because we felt we could do anything and go anywhere, and we called our own shot. And the one thing, out of all the things that might have happened or might not have happened, we, as a musical entity, remained true to what it was we wanted to do. We weren't going to try to write the next Billie Jean, or we weren't going to try to be, we were what we were. And if that's what it was, and we never tried to be anything other than that. And that's what, made the whole thing work. And then when it didn't work anymore, you had one or two choices. You keep pushing and forcing, or you go where life takes you. And life, it took me to some pretty cool places. But it was a hell of a good place to start from. You know.
Yeah, well, chasing trends in the music business, you can be chasing them all every day of your life. And Angel made the decision to, to try to create more hit records. Um, we wanted to be, back then, I mean, you had to place yourself in those times. I mean, if you didn't have a hit record, then you weren't going to be on TV, you weren't going to be on the radio. It was just, you could go on tour, and there were some great bands that didn't have hit records. I don't want to make it sound like that was the only goal you could have. However, Kiss had a huge following, and they had some top 40 hit records. We could name them. And I can go right down the list of the label mates for the record label that I was signed to, Casablanca, and it was a hit radio record company.
Yeah.
Village People, Donna Summer, and Angel was always trying to write that hit song. So
that can be a trap. I'll tell you something.
On Casablanca?
What's that?
Bee Gees, were they on Casablanca?
I think for a while.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll tell you an interesting. My first enlightening experience about the business and hits. In 1968, we had an engineer, a front of house engineer for the band, who happened to be the head engineer for Warner Brothers, and said, "I'm going to sneak you guys into the Brill building, and we're going to record." And we were not supposed to be there, but I remember running into a record executive, and I said, "Man, we're going to record some stuff, and you got to hear us. We're great. You're going to love this." And he said to me, "Steve, I'm sure your music is great, but we sell pieces of plastic with a hole in the middle, and if your music happens to be on there, that's good for you."
Yeah. I had to sell the records.
Pail of water in the face. Boosh.
Never forgot that one.
That was like I was 16. I mean, Warner Brothers. I mean, I'm ready to step onto the whatever comes next. We're right down the street from the Garden. Let's just go straight there.
Yeah.
Well, you're reminding me when you mentioned the Brill building. The first album that I did was in 1972. Actually, I'd done one in Memphis before that, but the main first album deal I had was at A&M Records in Hollywood, in the Charlie Chaplin studio, which was built in his old film studios. And the producer was Jeff Barry. And anybody that looks up Jeff Barry, Barry, and his writing partner before that was Ellie Greenwich. Now, it was a writing team that wrote some of the biggest hits from the Do-Ron Ron era.
Oh, wow.
And so this guy was producing my first album, which was a funky, like a jazz funk, southern funk album. Great musicians, mostly from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Jeff Barry had such credentials from the Brill building. I mean, he used to sit and tell me stories about the old days with Neil Sedaka and, all those great hit record makers.
Yeah.
I just looked him up. He wrote Be My Baby, Chapel of Love,
Right.
River Deep, Mountain High, with his then wife, Ellie Greenwich. And
Ellie
Phil
Greenwich, right.
Spector, and leader of the Pack.
Wow. Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, and he produced the Monkees, and those were the days when A&M Records was the record label.
Oh, I trust me, I remember, especially because in those days we wanted to get signed, but we wanted somebody to come and recognize. We wanted to be found rather than rescued, if you know.
You
what I
wanted
mean.
to be discovered.
Exactly. And
Well, I discovered you.
Yes, you did, and thank you for that. I tell you what, at this point, I look back and with all the people that we've had on the show, and whatever 2 degrees of separation between that band and a lot, I think we did. I like what we did. I like looking at that legacy now that it's far removed and so on, and seeing what it is that we left in the wood piles. It feels good.
Oh, you guys performed for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, you played a lot of, I'm sure a lot of clubs that you'd rather not have to go back to, but you also had premier gigs, man. You guys opened for some big acts and you headline shows. I mean, Rat Race Choir was really well known.
Yeah, I felt. Thank you for remembering. Believe me, it was. I, I look back at it with a great deal of pride for that whole moment that we were all a part of. You and me, and probably just about everybody else I've had on the show that's within 10 years either way of our age group. We were part of it of a movement or a shift or whatever the paradigm was. That was the 70s and 80s in New York, in the tri-state area, not just Manhattan, but the whole thing that was burgeoning around. Everybody was getting more gear, and the shows were getting more elaborate, and it was
Right.
you didn't have to go to Madison Square Garden to see a production and a show anymore. And it was it'll never be like that again. Well, I don't want to say that, but that was a once in a lifetime moment. So I'm
You know what's
pretty
weird is that now it's live music is starting to happen just as this whole pandemic is sort of squashing everything, but it is getting it is poised to get better for live music. People I
I
talk
believe
to
that.
are doing gigs. People are showing up for the gigs. Other parts of the country, maybe more than around New York here where I live, where it's a lot more um, repressed because of the infection rate. But gigs are happening now. Of course, bands are out there, man. There's a lot of good young musicians. Have you seen some of these cats that are playing? I mean, on TikTok, admittedly, but freaking monsters. I mean,
What band?
I was just what was the name?
Something puppy.
Snarky Puppy.
Snarky puppy.
oh,
Yeah.
they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guys are good.
And what's it?
Yeah.
What was who's the one? Knower.
Nowhere. Yeah. You know
That's
that?
funky stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like it's out,
Fusion.
man. It's almost gentle giant in the 21st century.
Right.
But it's just there's two kinds of people out there now. It's very interesting, when you think about it. There are virtuosos that do their thing acoustically or as close to naturally as it can be done, and then there are artists that create music using whatever at their disposal. And maybe we don't all agree that it's music or maybe whatever, but it's two completely different factions, and it's fun when the natural acoustic one meets up with the holy shit, look at all the stuff I have in this rack.
Yeah.
It's I embrace it all. I mean,
Oh, well, let me ask you a question because this is, to me, it's one of those things I think about occasionally now because I started listening to new wave music, retro stuff, right? And I'm really digging on the Talking Heads, of course, David Bowie. I'm not into the Clash. I'm not into the Sex Pistols. And I'm obviously going back in time to use these names. But for me, it's still kind of new because I never listened to that stuff when it was new. I couldn't stand it.
yeah,
And we had bands that opened for us. We had, different bands open for us in Angel. I mean, rarely, but it happened, where it'd be standing over there going, what the hell are these guys doing? That's not music. That's just making noise. How do you
yeah.
feel about that era of punk music? What did that do for you? Or
Well,
not?
for me, if it's the thing, the only thing about the punk thing that resonates with me, as with regard to my musical DNA, is the energy, because the energy and the commitment and the belief and the ferocity, it's all genuine. You can't fake that, right? And if that's what you're selling, then that's, I get that. Past, but for me, I'm a drummer, and I want to be the best, or the best drummer I can be in the world. I don't want there to be anybody doing what I do better than me, and I love a challenge. And while punk is a calisthenic challenge, maybe, you know what I mean? You don't hear a lot of guys doing fill-ins and playing in odd time signatures, or being a stylist. I mean,
I think
I
it's
know it was a
about-
drum machine.
well, yeah.
I
But
think
you
it's
know what
about
happens
their-
when you pour
their
beer in the
lyrics.
drum machine?
What?
It tries to sing. but my point is that punk. There was always another kind of music that divided my fan base or our fan base. There was always something else. There was disco, and there was punk, and then there was grunge. There was always something on the other side.
So something new is always coming along. Now we're kind of going into retro fashion. I mean, some of the like what is it, Greta Gerwig, or
Oh no,
Greta Van Fleet.
Greta
Oh,
Van
yeah.
Fleet, yeah, Greta
Led
Van
Zeppelin.
Fleet, yeah.
Somebody was telling me about that band not long ago and said, "You got to hear these guys." And I went, "Oh wow, Greta Van Fleet sounds like a girl." And he went, "No, no, it says there's a band. They're young guys. They play really cool stuff." And I checked them out. Sounds like a band for 20 years ago to me. And people like them, and I like them. So
That'd
it's
be
okay.
Led Zeppelin.
Well, all right, since we're going there, I am a Birds fan. I'm a Jim McGuinn fan. That's how far I go back. I go pre-Roger. I'm a Jim McGuinn fan. Okay, and then I am a Jimi Hendrix fan. That's it. That's where I enjoy other things, but those are the guys that really, those are the musical things that really turn the knobs for me. So when I first heard Tom Petty, it pissed me off. Plain and simple.
Because
Because he was ripping Jim. I seen things and he's playing the 12, he's playing the Rick. I mean,
Yeah.
and I resented it. I mean, it really. And then when Robin Trower or Stevie Ray Vaughan came along and they're doing Hendrix with a Southern accent, I'm like, what? And I'm pissed off. And I'm trying to defend something rather than understanding. This is to your point. Understanding of what these people are doing. That without those people, that sound in any new form is gone. And Petty, I wound up having a friend who's plays drums or played drums in that band, and I love his stuff. So it's just it's a mindset.
Well, he's pretty basic, I think the cool thing about Tom Petty was that you could pick him up within about 4 bars, it's like you knew it was him or at one of his songs. But one of the things that bothers me is the rip-off routine, the derivative of this, but not necessarily, and maybe even paying homage, but to me a rip-off, like Bruce Springsteen is a rip-off of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is a rip-off of Woody Guthrie. It's like rip-offs keep moving along generationally. So I know there's a bunch of
rip-off. Is it a rip-off or is it an inheritance?
It's a tribute. It's a. Give it a nice word. Okay, rip-off's not nice. Okay, to a Bruce fan, they'd go, "Hey, he's ripping on. Bruce never ripped off anybody." Well, it depends on how you what pejorative you want to use. He was definitely, affected, influenced by Bob Dylan. But the point I'm making is that one leads to another, and it keeps moving along. Not always linear. It might stop and derail. It might never happen again. But I'm looking back over my years of experience and going, a lot of what became popular was already popular before, or at least it was legitimate at some point in time, and then reused by somebody who went, "Oh, I really appreciate that. I'm gonna do it again."
Well, Eric Clapton said musicians are magpies. We steal from each other. That's how the thing grows. And I agree with that. And the funny thing about it is, all the guys from England that wound up being influential were trying to be something else. They were trying to be old black blues guys,
The Stones,
and they became English rock stars. And wait a minute, well, all right, well, I guess we'll do this. We wanted to do that, but okay, we'll be rock stars.
Well, you're a product of the people that you listen to. I know I am. I grew up in St. Louis, and that's where Chuck Berry's from. And I was listening to Chuck Berry when I was 5 years old because, The radio stations played him all the time, and he was at that point still not even discovered by the Stones.
Wow.
He was kind of a regional and Midwestern and still new. And I'm going on with Ike and Tina and all the bands from St. Louis. Some of the great country bands and people that started. Where in St. Louis, where I came from, you had to be able to play in my first bands that I played with. You had to be able to do all that stuff legitimately, or you didn't have a gig.
Yeah. And I've come to find that out too. I was lucky as in Rat Race, with Entwistle, with Leslie West, or with most of the things that I did. There were all big chunks of things. Entwistle was 15 years. Leslie was like on and off for 11 years. Rat Race was 25 years, and they all kind of overlapped. And it's that's. But to be able to change it up and go. Because I know Chuck used to just tell a band to be there what key to play the song in, and it's like, whoa.
No, I know a lot of guys that played in his band. One was a drummer that I played with for years, and he was always impressed or amazed, actually, because Chuck would show up at a gig, and this was usually around St. Louis, in some big club. I mean, this was later when he was a superstar, right? But he would still take on gigs, and his minimum was like $10,000 or $15,000. You could hire Chuck Berry for $10,000. You have a bar, it holds 1,000 people, doesn't matter to him, he's getting $10,000. And he expected to be paid when he showed up.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have the money in your hand, his guitar went back in the car and down the road he would go.
Yeah. We saw it.
Very simple business transaction.
Yeah, yeah.
And the band, you're right. The band is just people maybe he'd played with before, but how many times did you see him if you look at the oldie, stuff from TV, the really old stuff? He walks into a room, cameras are rolling, the band's standing there, it's usually young white guys. He did a lot of British TV that way, and they're probably Chuck Berry fans. They would know his songs or have heard them, but they had never played with him before. And he'd go, okay, Maybelline, C. Bang, and he'd start playing it, and they sometimes did a pretty good job, sometimes not so good, but he had no, fear. He would just walk up and do his thing. I always appreciate that kind of showmanship, that kind of talent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, because if you do it, you just do it. That's why you are. If you're a lifer in this biz, it's because you are that, not because you want to be that or you enjoy it. It's because you are that. I mean, I couldn't not do what I do or some permutation of it without going mad. I would lose my mind if I didn't create or entertain or somehow work with that part of my whatever gifts I have there. I'd go nuts.
Well, you're using part of your gifts by doing this show. You
That's
do
the
this
whole point. Yeah.
every night or every month or
5 nights a week. 5 nights a week, and we do it, and so now we segue into the other stuff because I'm sure Angus sent you the questions. I mean, you and I could talk about our views on this because we come from two very similar yet two very separate places, and now we have a view of the same thing, and But I will tell you that I'm sure he told you about Free for All Fridays. And on Fridays, it's anybody that has ever been on the show can come into the room, and the conversations are mind-boggling. Sometimes they're like, wow, and sometimes they're like, wow. But they're always funny and they're always fun. And so you're welcome. Tomorrow's our New Year's Eve party. Don't feel strange. Bring your own, bring your own stuff. But you're invited. And we're celebrating with the Azores because when it's 8 o'clock here on the East Coast, it's midnight in the Azores. So we're celebrating with them.
So you're doing it at 8 o'clock.
No, we're finishing
the same
at
time.
8.
Yeah, we finish at 8. That's midnight for them.
We try to finish.
So it's the
at
same
8.
time as this. We do 7 to 8.
We usually run over.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'll try to join.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to drop in, it's fun because guys sometimes come in from backstage. Hey man, I'm getting ready to go on, but I just wanted to say hello. It's fun. It's really fun. It's
Does he know Jeff?
or guys. Do you know Jeff Seitz?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Played in Godspeed, works for the Police and for Stuart Copeland. It's
Uh huh.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
he
he
was.
comes in. I mean, people are driving down the street going, "Yeah, I'm late for my gig, but I know you guys were on. I wanted to say hello." And
We
Well,
had
that's
someone
cool.
come in from Italy to say
yeah,
hello.
we had, of course, our friends in the States. We have one friend
In
in
Aruba.
Aruba, another friend in Antigua,
From the
and
Good Rats.
you remember the Good Rats?
I do. Yeah,
The
sure.
bass player Lenny Kotke comes in
Uh
for
huh.
most Fridays. He's in Antigua, and then Mouse. I don't know if you remember. You would probably remember Mousy with one or two. Hey, do you know this one? Do you know that one?
Yeah.
She came in from Italy, so we're like, it's fun, man. So
I'll try to do that.
pop in. Yeah, it's easy.
Thank you for inviting me to do this. I know it's not as often as it used to be, but I really enjoy talking about the good old times and other stuff that we're all doing.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you want to tell the people that are watching about anything that you're going to be doing that we want them to attend
Well, to attend,
or to purchase?
to purchase. I don't have anything to purchase yet. I did start my own company, and I'm developing some products, musical stuff. I'm composing music, like everybody else in this planet. Working from home more than anything else, and I'm sitting right now at my Pro Tools setup, looking at you on the screen that I use, and I have
That's
all my
fine.
instruments. So, I'm
I,
trying to replicate sounds that I have inside of me that I wish to. I don't know how I'll get them out of me, but they're going to come out. It's not rock and roll. It's more audio. Yeah, there you go.
that's my C24.
Well, you got more than I do. I'll come to your place.
Right, you're certainly welcome. But let me tell you what I love. I've been doing the Pro Tools thing for a very long time, and I finally was fortunate enough to have all the right pieces come together, and I love it. I mean, for me, it gives me advantages musically that I wouldn't have any other way. So like I said, I beat things with a stick, but Pro Tools helps me cheat.
All right.
It's
Well,
my
I'm
answer to the drum machine.
Yeah, well, I hate drum machines, and I used to hate Pro Tools. I was building analog recording studios when Pro Tools first came out, and the rooms that I was building were going for between 150 and $250 per hour.
Oh, I know.
Pro Tools came in, what happened? People could do recordings in their house, in their home, in their kitchen, and they would
Billie
charge
Eilish.
$15 an hour.
Billie
Yeah.
Eilish. Set up in mom and dad's living room with your brother and let's make millions. But
Well,
again, you
now we're
can't.
sounding like grumpy old men, but
Oh no, no, I'm not sure. I think what they do is amazing. I think the poise that she has to get the vocals that she gets, it's incredible. And the fact that Phineas, her brother, is so adept at so many things and their crafting of their songs. No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. I don't have mirrors in my house. I have no idea. I have no mirrors and no children. So
So he still thinks he's 19.
I still feel, yeah.
I think I'm 47 actually.
Yeah, stick with it. I'll still hang with you. Don't
I
worry.
feel like
All right, well,
So-
listen, I tell you first of all, come in because these conversations, especially on Fridays, are great. I'm going to play a quick commercial, give us a 60-second break. I'll meet you back here for the all-important questions. Did Angus send you the questions?
I have some questions, but I didn't print them out, so we'll wing
But
it.
it doesn't matter. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. As long as you ever saw them, it's not. Believe me, this is not.
They're easy.
It will not go on your resume. It's not a test. You will not be graded. And I'll meet you back here in about a minute and a half.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Most of you know I live in Southwest Florida now, and one of my favorite places to grab a bite to eat is Jason's Deli. Scott and Diana Willis have been in business here for over 20 years. The truth is, Jason's Deli has bigger choices of better food. You can eat healthy and enjoy the taste of quality ingredients. They're open 7 days a week for dine-in, pick-up, or deli delivery. With 4 convenient locations from Naples to Cape Coral, Florida, they are a must-try. Jason's Deli, where all good things come from wholesome ingredients. And Bradley's Jewelers in South Fort Myers. diamonds, bridal, you name it, estate, custom design, and expert repair. Bradley's Jewelers, South Fort Myers. They specialize in amazing moments.
Yeah, so so they Bradley's, that's our people. Yes, thank you very much.
Jason's Deli.
Jason's Deli, if you
Good looking
understand it.
sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, and it's like you know New York delis.
But this is in Fort Myers.
This is in Fort Myers, which
well,
is
they're
like
all over the country, actually.
yeah, they
I
are.
used to have a house in Fort Myers.
Where?
I don't remember where. My dad had it, and when he passed away, it came to the family, and I went down and sold it. He was on a canal, and he had a boat dock.
It was on a canal. Well, that could have been Fordham area.
I'm not sure.
It's we're like
Long time ago.
Oh yeah, but,
Yeah,
well,
we've been here 17 years.
yeah, we've been here 17 years.
And
And
it's a wonderful place to live. It really is.
Yeah.
It's calm there. I know.
Yeah, it's getting a little busy now.
relatively calm. Relatively calm.
Maybe not in your building, but
Well, no, I'm not. Believe me,
we have a house.
we're in a nah. Prince has got nothing on us. No.
We have a house.
We have a house and a nice piece of land, and it's not. We are. You wouldn't if you went anywhere on this property now. You wouldn't know how close to the city you really were. It's we're really very lucky to find it. It's
that's great.
a hidden gem, and with the emphasis on hidden. So anyway.
Okay.
And, where are you, just for document's sake?
In the city.
Can't tell you.
Okay. But
Just
if you
kidding.
could tell me. where it
Just kidding. I'm in Forest Hills. We live in Forest Hills, Queens.
Oh, the land of Leslie West.
That's right.
And
Yes,
that's open.
and the Ramones.
And the Ramones. That's right.
They
That's
weren't
right.
from Rockaway Beach.
No, they grew up and went to Forest Hills High School, which is just a couple blocks from here.
Wow.
At least a couple of them did.
Wow, Forest Hills, big,
Very nice. That's a nice
A lot
place.
of stuff. The Vegas.
We have the tennis stadium here, the original tennis stadium, and every summer there's a series of concerts. The Beatles played there, and every year there's great lineup at the tennis stadium here.
Yeah,
I can
no,
hear them from our bed. I can hear them from our living room and our bedroom window.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
If cool.
It's all right.
Yeah, once in a while we can hear people playing tennis, and that's are you nuts? And it doesn't last long. It's hot down here, so. But there you go. All right. Well, anyway, let's do the questions, shall we?
Do the questions.
Okay. You have traveled here and yonder and there and all over the place. And when you know you're going to this one particular location, there's a restaurant there that you just have to eat at. Favorite restaurant on the road?
Oh, restaurant. And any city?
Any city.
And it doesn't have to
Any
be
country.
fancy.
Doesn't have to be just when you're going to that city. You're going to Dallas, I want to eat it at Pig Mo's Barbecue House.
Can it be a place from many years ago? Or does it
Any
has to be there now?
No.
Oh, the best restaurant when I lived in Beverly Hills that I always went to with dates and friends was Roy's. Right off of Olive right on Sunset Strip, right across from
Yeah. I know, Lloyd.
yeah, the menu came out as tarot cards.
Wow.
And he was like American Chinese food, right? So it was really sweet, crunchy, spare ribs and all that good stuff from great Chinese restaurant style stuff. Yeah, Roy's was great.
Yeah, there's a Roy's in
Excellent.
Sarasota that Brian Johnson goes to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one was owned by Roy Silver, who was partners with Neil Bogart from Casablanca.
Right. Yeah, I think it's the same guy.
So
the
everybody from the
same-
record company would all go there, and then all these people, man, you'd be sitting there, they stayed open until like 2 or 3 in the morning. I mean, believe me, it was quite a scene.
I do.
So for other reasons than the food, but yeah, that was my favorite hang.
All right, Roy's.
Okay, great. Okay, score one for Roy. Very good. Okay, so here we go. We're live. We're playing at any time in our career. Could be your first band, could be your last band, any band. Set list comes out. There it is, your favorite song to play live. Let's count it off.
Favorite tune?
To play live.
God, that's challenging because, so many of the great bands that I was fortunate to play with had, sometimes songs that I would just stand back and go, wow, I can't believe we did that as well as we just did it. I will go with Angel. and some of the tunes we did that really kicked. Oh, over and over.
Over and over. Okay.
Um, then I love to play Telephone Exchange. These I'm saying I'm answering with more than one song.
Yeah, that's okay. You can have a backup.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to be tattoos, so,
We
careful.
actually just listened to you guys do a Rascals song.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We did, yeah. Ain't got eat out my heart anymore.
Yes.
All right, now I got to tell you a funny story now, okay? Just
Yeah.
because we get off the track once in a while. Gene Cornish
Right?
is playing a gig on Long Island. Gene's a friend. He sends me jokes every day. I love him. Rascals was like the beginning of my musical journey.
Your first concert.
Gene's playing a gig with a band on the island, and they do "You Better Run."
I remember that tune. I played that song.
Great song, right? And so Gene takes a break from the band. He goes up to the bar, and some guy comes up to him and says, "Man, that was really great." He said, "I love that one you just played. Do you do any other Pat Benatar song?"
Now we can start telling stories, but we could go on for an hour, and I know you don't have that much
I
time.
thought it was appropriate because it's.
Well, I thought it was a Pat Benatar song, so.
Yeah, well, just don't tell Gene.
No.
Oh, by the way, I just came to mind the song that I'm speaking of, people we've known and people that we've played with. When we were an Angel and our last tour, we shared the bill with Humble Pie.
Oh.
And it was not the Humble Pie of the 70s. It was the Humble Pie of towards the end of the Humble Pie
I
era.
think we had one or two people on from
Humble
that
Pie, yeah.
current version.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
well, Steve Marriott you won't have on because.
Oh,
No, we didn't have him.
no.
But he was in the band. He was in the band, of course, and Bobby Tench was the second
Bobby
guitarist,
Tench, yeah.
singer. Bobby Tench from the Jeff Beck group and all that. So almost every night, we would close out the night with Steve and Bobby coming on stage, and we would do "Going Down,"
Oh.
as with both Punky playing guitar and Steve and me and Bobby singing and Frankie singing, and those were golden moments. I wish somebody had a recording of that.
Wow.
Somebody probably does somewhere.
Yeah.
That was magical.
I'll tell you what. It's funny because I used to do "Going Down" with Leslie
I'll bet.
West.
What
And
a great guitar player. Man.
Yeah, and he's all over. There's just a million reasons to solo, and he'd say, "You sing it tonight, you sing it," and so I'd be back there with my, and then sometimes he'd just start singing along with you. It was crazy. But I always wanted a bootleg of us doing that thing,
Yeah.
and did it. And all of a sudden, we're surfing on eBay one day, just looking at stuff, and it says Leslie West Mountain live at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, and I'm like, did he play there more than once? Because if he didn't,
And
we
with
should
John
buy that.
Entwistle, it
And
says.
with John
Yeah.
Entwistle, because John knew that we were going to be in town and came over and played whatever we played. I don't remember. But yeah, I had to buy an overpriced bootleg of my.
But don't worry about that, man. I would do it too. It's like,
Hell yeah!
yeah, absolutely.
All right, it's all right.
Okay.
I'm
That's
gonna
a
get back
good
onto the track now.
Cool.
We've sussed out a couple of the favorites. But now the set list comes out again. Any band, anytime, anywhere. And this is not your favorite song. You don't want to play this song.
I hate this song.
I hate this song.
I could play it in my sleep, and I don't want to sleep and play this song because it'll be a
don't.
nightmare. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, the song that I hate. I have to go back to the club days when you had to be a jukebox. This would be in the early 70s before I moved to LA. Playing in the club bands, you had to play the top 10, the top 20, whatever. And there would be songs that were perennial hits, meaning people loved the song. You had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun. Well, I
Play that funky music, white boy.
No. Ooh, no, I can't remember it. Oh, okay, I'll pick a different song. Make It With You by Bread.
Oh, I wanna
Wow.
make it
It
with
with
you.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, baby, we can make it.
Okay.
I hated
I have
that
a,
song.
want a bread story? I got a little quick bread story.
Oh,
I
no.
love bread.
Out on the road, and we're doing in-stores because we have at the End Whistle Band, we have a new live CD coming out, so we're doing all the in-stores. And the thing is, that they all will give us whatever CDs we want, right? I mean, it's about the end of CDs anyway, so take them. But, and so you would always call out, the tour manager would say, what CDs do you want? And I'd say, this, that, and the other thing. And eventually I had everything that I wanted. I just wanted my old favorite collections. And I said, well, Lori, what do you want? My wife and producer and voice of logic in the
Yeah, you called
in
me
the
up
distance.
actually because
Called her up. I said, "What do you want?" She said, "The best of bread."
And Metallica.
Yeah, but
The best of bread.
and we're at the meet and greet. We're at the signing table, and the guy says, "Billy," to the tour manager. What do you want? A best of bread? and I'm like, come on. And we're on the bus, and somebody finds the CD and puts it in the CD player, and I'm just doing some bus footage, right? And there's Entwistle doing whatever the hell he's
We were
doing,
making fun of
making fun. I love bread. So yeah, every time I hear
Yeah.
bread, it's like, okay.
I remember this song. How long has this been going on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't sing that ever again to me.
Okay, that's a good one.
We have had 20 people say
Yeah.
Brown Eyed Girl.
Yeah, 20 people said
Oh,
Brown
I
Eyed
liked
Girl.
playing that tune.
See?
Van Morrison, Van the Man. Have you heard the latest stuff he does? Fantastic. Oh, he does a show with Joey DeFrancesco, who's a killer B3 player, and 3 or 4 other musicians in there. They have some great stuff. Look him up on YouTube.
Oh well, absolutely.
Van the Man, man, he's good.
Well, okay. Speaking of killer B3 player, if you could play any instrument other than the ones you play, and
Which I do play
shred
B3.
at it, if you could kill at it, doesn't matter what
Kill at it.
the Matterhorn, whatever, the flugelhorn, whatever it is.
No, that's easy. Saxophone.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I play guitar, I play bass, I play drums, I play keys, I play trumpet, I play trombone. I did in school at least. And when I did the first album on A&M Records, I played guitar, keys, bass, of course. I did all the bass tracks, but I also played second trumpet. So I like horn songs. I like horn music. And I played with some really great sax players who, now when I look
You got
back.
your lip?
What's that?
Have you still got your lip?
Oh, for trumpet? Absolutely not. No. The last trumpet I bought was not too long ago. I bought it at a yard sale in North Hollywood when I was doing this album last album I did. It was only a couple of years ago. And I was driving down the street and there was a yard sale. North Hollywood yard sales are great.
Oh yeah.
Pull in, walked up, and I always ask the same question. Do you have any musical instruments? And they sometimes say yes, and it's usually something you'd never buy anyway. This one time, this lady says, "Yeah, well, my son had a trumpet, and he doesn't play it anymore. Go get that trumpet," And the kid's now like a 40-year-old guy. He's got to go inside and drag the trumpet out, and I open the box. Beautiful King trumpet,
Oh, okay.
which is a good brand.
I know a little bit about
It's not a student model. And I go, "Okay, how much do you want for it?" She goes, "What's it worth?" I said, "To me, it's worth $25. She said, "Take it." I told the truth. I wouldn't have paid more for it. Anyway, I have a trumpet again.
Wow, that's a great
good.
deal.
But now you want to take on a reed. So, okay, listen. It's
A
your
reed, yeah. Well, I think the saxophone is the most voice-like expression that an instrument can be that's a natural, real instrument, not a keyboard simulation.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's got a lot of character.
Very sexy.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
it's the first, non-basic rock and roll instrument, right? I mean,
Oh, man, it is one of the most basic rock and roll instruments.
There you go. Okay, this is the big one, and then I'll let you go for dinner. I knew we were going to run over, and I enjoyed every second of it.
Me too.
If you could do one live show with anybody or any combination of guys, living or dead, who would it be?
It's there's too many easy choices there, right? I guess most people would want to pick the biggest names.
Not always.
Yeah.
Not always. It's an unusual question, and I've gotten answers across the board. So you can make up guys. I wouldn't.
A live show. See, I played in some big blue-eyed soul bands back in the Midwest, back in St. Louis when I was younger. It was my first, foray into the professional music business, where you had to show up on time. You had to do the gig. You could not screw up.
No.
And the discipline that I learned doing that was a foundation for the rest of my career and the rest of my life as a musician and in business, I think. So the band that I idolized back then that I knew I could play with and I never got to play with would have been Tower of Power.
Oh.
We've had Tower of Power sax player.
Yeah, we had John Scarpula was on.
Are you okay?
I frickin' what is
hit?
Man, that's got to be in my. I wish I could play on that song.
Man.
Yeah. Well, I met Emilio Castillo when I was recording at the record plant.
Wow.
Met him and we hung out a little bit, and all I could say was, "God."
Yeah. What do you say, man? It's like, and because it's been said to you, there's nothing you can say to the guy that's going to mean anything. So you just kind of like, but
well,
wow.
Rocco DiPrestio was the bass player in the band back then, man. And the guy had these fingers that was like, and I could do that. I mean, I think I can do it pretty well, but he did it like a machine. 64th notes. I mean, just and powerful. Every note was like a hammer, man. And that made the drums, of course, which were great anyway, just drive that band. When they got cooking, man, it was just unbelievable.
So let me ask you this.
Band,
This is obviously the last question, but now we've got an interesting.
That was supposed to be the last one.
Now we have an interesting dichotomy here. Tower of Power. Would you play sax?
Oh, no, bass.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it is a sax-driven band, and they had 4 sax players. Every one of them killer.
Yeah.
Just a great band. I mean, I like horn bands. I never got to do that through many of the years that I was making most of my music. But I have to. While I was answering this question, I kept thinking about the Eagles too, because what a great band at that time, and I feel their stuff too. Having grown up, in the Midwest and all that. But okay,
man. Well,
Tower Power. I'll go with Tower Power.
Oh, it's great, sure, man. Believe me, a favorite. That's just nothing hits like a horn band. I mean, it's like a freight train. But here we go. I'm going to take us back around the barn, and I'm not going to do it.
You have to stop in on a Friday.
You got to come in on a Friday. You're welcome any Friday. Here's all that here. And if you. I do tracks too. That was my studio, and it's here. So if you want to, send some tracks. And,
Time will come.
I believe that it will. This has been great, man. I thank you so much for being here, Felix. And
we're having a New Year's Eve party tomorrow night.
New Year's Eve tomorrow. Bring your BYOB, F, D,
J,
W, J, whatever. Bring your own alphabet. But we're going to have a good time. You'll see some great people.
I really enjoyed it, Steve. That was really terrific, and I'm grateful to have been asked to do your show.
Well,
best of luck to you.
We'll do it again real soon, and I will talk to you again, my friend. Thank you very much.
bye, Felix.
Take care.
See ya.
There it is. Well, now that was, wow.
He was great.
He was great.
Yeah.
And you see, that's why, and I like that he was asking me, this is not an interview show. This is not, hi, how are you? And what are you plugging today? It's not that.
It's a conversation.
it's conversations that I personally miss very much.
Well, our viewers loved it. They're saying, "Great show, great show."
That's what it's about. It's about when I realized and became ultimately grateful for what it is we do as musicians. I really wanted to share it any way. I've always wanted to share it any way that I could because I feel so lucky to be able to do all this. It's just, I mean, I really, maybe lucky's the wrong word, but I'm certainly grateful, man, and it ain't over yet. So
okay, so tomorrow night,
tomorrow,
everybody, our
New Year's Eve.
Free for all Friday.
Free for all Friday on New Year's Eve. We're celebrating with the Azores and
well, that
Cabo
will be at
Verde.
the end of the show.
But I think we're trying to get the live hookup to the Azores. So because when it's 8 o'clock for us, it'll be midnight for them. There are only 3 places in the world that will do that.
We saw their Earth Cam, and it's nothing but blackness. So
right,
maybe,
so you could be just you. Who knows? Maybe the village explodes at midnight. We don't know. But be here, my dear. And if I don't see you in the future, I will see you in the pasture.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.